This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This is James Arnold Taylor, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi. I have a good feeling about this.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to Coffee with Kenobi, show number 430. This is your spoiler-free place for Star Wars discussion, analysis, and rhetoric. I'm your host, Dan Z, drinking One Nation coffee out of my Lucasfilm coffee mug, ready to talk some Star Wars with each and every one of you. On today's show, we've got a really exciting lineup. I was able to attend a Bad Batch press day where I got to speak with Jennifer Corbett, the producer and head writer of Star Wars The Bad Batch, and Brad Rau, producer of Star Wars The Bad Batch, in addition to Ming-Na Wen, the voice of Fennec Shand. Of course, she also portrays Fennec Shand in The Mandalorian and soon to be the Book of Boba Fett. So it was a wonderful honor for me to speak with them. I'm going to share my question and answer session with them. It's very, very quick, but there's some fun little insights there. And of course, all three of them are very charming, insightful, and absolutely delightful. And then after those interviews, Tom Gross, Andrew Harrison, and myself will review the newest episode of Star Wars The Bad Batch, Bounty Lost, the 9th episode in the first season. Now, normally these come out after we do our top fives, but I've got a very busy week at Coffee with Kenobi with the live, not only on Monday night, but also the live directly from Walt Disney World and Disney's Hollywood Studios, where I'm going to take you around Galaxy's Edge. You're going to be on Batuu with me, and I'm very excited about that. Plus, I've got a great conversation with Jason Fraley on Thursday talking about Indiana Jones and its impact. The first time I really had a show dedicated to Indiana Jones, but I think that's going to happen a little bit more semi-regularly. So pull up a chair, grab your favorite coffee mug, and let's have some coffee with Kenobi. I'm curious, you mentioned Cad Bane earlier. I would love to know if you can talk about the evolution of bringing him into the show.
Yeah, we... In talking about the first half of the season, and obviously the Kaminoans put this bounty to have Omega return to them, and we knew we wanted to have the Batch interact with Fennec Shand just to see how they end up, because they're still not fully street smart yet. They're still very much soldiers. They don't really know how the galaxy works in different ways, and while Fennec is new to the scene, she's still very dangerous. And to sort of compare that interaction with then later on when the Kaminoans hire an even bigger gun, and just a completely different experience for the Batch, where Hunter was able to get away that first time, but this time no one is going to outdraw Cad Bane. So it's kind of like just a continuation of who this squad's interacting with, and how each interaction, each experience, they're learning something new about other threats that are out there in the world and how that affects them moving forward.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll say Corey Burton, he's such an amazing, fantastic, decorated actor. We have such a blast working with him. Kind of full stop on that, but also for the design of Cad Bane, we were looking at some designs that had never fully gone into production that were in progress in Clone Wars, both for his look and also for his ship that you see in 109. And it was a lot of fun to go back to those and sort of take them out of the garage and tinker with it and push it and rework it a little bit so that Cad Bane and his ride felt familiar and yet a little bit more nuanced, a little more detailed. But yeah, Corey, his performance just informs all of the animation and a lot of the blocking. He's phenomenal. He's so great.
Well, hello. This is awesome. Your enthusiasm is just infectious. Thank you so much.
I just love all your rooms. That's going to be my office. I'm remodeling my home right now, and I'm looking at all your paraphernalia going, oh, okay, I want to do that. I want to do that.
I'm going to take inventory to make sure you didn't take something.
Okay. So cool. All right,
so,
Dan.
I'd love to know about, and if you could describe your acting process for live action versus voice work, and how you kind of get yourself in that headspace, depending on the outlet.
Right. Well, I do a lot of voice acting. Like right now I'm doing like 4 or 5 other animation projects. So the one thing that's difficult is like keeping all the characters straight in ways, because sometimes you literally go in and you're shooting, 4 or 5 episodes all at once because they're just only doing your lines. And so that's difficult and different in wanting to bring something to life, and you have to do it very, very quickly. With live action, you have other actors to work off of. You have a set or sceneries. You have a director to help you, producers, writers. You have costume, makeup, hair. It's a full-on process. When you do voice acting, you could be in your PJs, and in fact, with the Bad Batch, because of COVID, they brought in all this equipment, the computer, they delivered it all, the microphone, everything, and I had to set it up in my home. And the only place that I found to be really good for sound buffering was in my closet because of all the clothes. So I did the season of Bad Batch in my closet. So can you imagine, you have to create this whole, bring this character to life with your imagination while you're surrounded by your clothes. It's pretty crazy.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There you go. Really nice, quick, fun interview. As I said, they were really all charming and very gracious with their time. I was able to be a part of that press conference with numbers of the Star Wars media in the world of fandom. It was great. And it's pretty cool that Ming-Na Wen enjoyed my Coffee with Kenobi office. And I hope that you will get a chance to see the Coffee with Kenobi studios and prepare your top 5 as we go through them each and every week. Again, we've got the live show on Monday, June 28th from my Coffee with Kenobi studios, where you'll give your top 5 favorite moments from Bounty Lost, the episode we're about to discuss here on Coffee with Kenobi. And then on Tuesday, June 29th, live at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time from Hollywood Studios, where I will take you around Batu. Let's go ahead and get into the conversation with Andrew and Tom about Bounty Lost.
So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first.
Joining us today for a cup of coffee to talk about Bounty Lost, the 9th episode in Season 1 of Star Wars The Bad Batch. First is Tom Gross.
Hello, everybody. It's great to be here, as always, talking The Bad Batch. And, Bounty Lost. Great title.
We're going to talk about that title. But before we get right into the meat of it, let's bring in our other co-host, Andrew Harrison.
Hey, guys. Super excited to be here. Not only do I get to talk about The Bad Batch, which is a show that I'm finding I like a lot more than I expected, but I get to fulfill a lifelong dream of being on a podcast with Tom Gross.
Oh, that's right. You weren't on last time you were on talking about Rogue Squadron, I believe. Tom was not on. So yes, check that off your bucket list, my friend.
Wow, nice.
Well, Andrew, why don't we start with you? As always, we like to give a letter grade for the episode and sort of overall thoughts. So tell us what you thought about that and give us your grade.
Sure. So, Bounty Lost. This was an episode that I was really looking forward to, mainly because of where the previous episode left off, and because that previous episode set such a high bar. And so this one I was really looking forward to. I don't feel like it completely got as high as the previous one did, so I think I'm going to give this one an A. It was still really solid, but it didn't quite have the extra oomph that I was hoping it would have.
Well, an A is pretty good. So I think that's a pretty good mark. Tom, what about you?
Wow, my sentiments exactly. I gave it an A for exact same reasons. It was a great episode, but it didn't have the oomph and the sort of the edge of the seat that episode 8 left. But you know what? It had some great fist fighting and some good pistol fighting, and some great Omega backstory in this one, and some really a revelation with her. And so, there's lots of stuff going on in this one, but yeah, the oomph I didn't feel was there. So I'm with you, Andrew. I give it a solid A.
All right. Interesting. Well, I am going to give it a B+. I liked it, but as you mentioned, both of you mentioned, especially you, Andrew, the last one had set such a high emotional bar. And so that's hard to tell, but that's not a fault of this episode. The problem for me with this episode, if there's a problem, is the title. But I will get to that as we go through the show. So as we start the episode, Crosshair, me just like I think the last one or the one before, they start off with a space battle, right? Crosshair is in hot pursuit. Echo has to be the voice of reason. But Hunter, Andrew, is reluctant to jump to hyperspace right away. What kind of conflict is he dealing with here?
I think that he's really attaching himself as the father figure. And that really started to show up, I think, here in a solid sense. I think he's really coming to grips with that. The conflict is interesting because he knows as a soldier that he is on the defensive, right? He knows that they need to get away. Tech's given him all the information about how the shields are failing. But there's that part of him that knows that Omega needs their help. And he's desperate to get her back. And you can really see that in his facial expressions, the animation that they are able to pull off, just to get those emotions to show on their faces is great. And I think this instance is one of those that really, really showcases that.
It certainly does, and you always get the sense that he's still very much living in denial, Tom. Where Echo's like, she's long gone. Like, we can't. There's no reason to stay, or you're not going to get her here. That bounty hunter took her, and he's long gone. So you're out of luck. So Hunter reluctantly agrees, and then we switch to Omega in a cell. Talk about her initial conversation with Toto 360, voiced by Seth Green.
Yeah, I thought there were actually, how many? Were there 3 scenes of her in the cell talking with Toto? But this one, she really tries to be forceful with him, saying, let me out of here. In fact, she stands up at one point, she points at him and says, you're going to let me out of here. And Toto, being the obstinate droid that he is, and man, I wasn't glad. I didn't say this last episode because I didn't feel like it was time to do it. But I was really glad to see Toto's leg get blown off by Hunter. Just the instance and that setting. It was not the time to talk about it. But this droid irritates the heck out of me in a good storytelling way, not in an
L3 sort of a way.
Right. Yeah. Well, yes, in your experience. But yeah, as a character, he irritates me because he's always there at just the time that you don't want him to be there, as is shown here. But he explains to her that, she needs to settle down. Cad Bane doesn't like it when his prisoners get all worked up and upset. And so they have a little connection there, and it's the first of 3 moments where she's going to start trying to persuade him for Toto to let her out just to let her out, and she's going to use some persuasive techniques as the next couple series go. I did want to say something about that opening sequence, if you don't mind.
Sure.
If I can just take a little rewind. I really thought Crosshair would be more in this one, and I thought, what I really liked, I don't know if I liked it or what it was, but it's one example of how the Empire is so threatening, but it's one of the first instances where we get to see they're always so close, so threatening, but they're always a step behind. It's one of those places where, man, the Empire just cannot seem to be on top of things. But anyway, I really was surprised.
It's like Roscoe and Boss Hogg.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Roscoe train.
I think they're a little more threatening than them, but yes, indeed, it is that sort of feel. And I was really surprised that was the only time we saw Crosshair in this episode. Works, but just I was surprised.
I was surprised to even see him at all, to be honest, because I feel like he's a different emotional beat. And I think the mystery of him, plus seeing him fail again, I think packs more punch when it's just in the other episode. But you have to have the transitional piece, right? You have to have to make it feel like it's all part of the same story. And maybe this is why I'm going to say this was a B+ for me. As soon as I saw the title Bounty Lost, I thought instantly, well, Omega's safe. She's going to be safe by the end of the episode. All that suspense and tension and the fear I felt with seeing her with Cad Bane at the end of the last episode completely went away when I read the title, because if you're losing the bounty, then she's gone, right? And I thought either she was going to escape and be on her own, or that Clone Force 99 would get her back. So to me, that kind of worked against them. How do either of you feel about that?
I kept thinking that it was going to be related to Paradise Lost, and that's not what we got
To
at
Milton?
all. Yeah.
I didn't think that much about the title, to be honest with you. It didn't strike me. So you're saying that you felt like it kind of gave away.
It gave it away.
Yeah.
I wasn't worried about her. I mean, I wasn't worried about her with Cad Bane. I wasn't. Now, when he is with her, he calls her the asset.
Yeah.
And he says, "Your friends are long gone. I made sure of that, little lady." Why, Tom? Why does he always call her little lady? What is that about?
I don't know. Well, okay, so I was going to say something about that, because that really irritates Kaylee. She can't stand it.
That's important.
When he says that to her. And I said, I told this was what I make of it. You asked the question. So what I make of it is it's his way of putting her not in her place, but it's of like degrading her, keeping her from not feeling so powerful. And you're just a little kid. You're a little lady. I'm the one in charge here, pal. And so every time he calls her that, it feels so like kind of slimy and dirty. And it was really bothering Kaylee, even though it grated me. I don't know that it bothered me as much as it did her.
You know what? I'm glad that you said that, because to me, it made Kaylee feel the way Omega probably felt about it. Like it was condescending and degrading, possibly even, I don't know if I want to say it's sexist, but it's very possible that
it feels that way.
Yeah, it kind of does feel that way. He's such an interesting bounty hunter. I mean, there's just so much about him that I think is interesting, but it's also like this weird kind of I mean, even with the intro, you've got the guitar again when Cad Bane comes down the ladder, which is super cool. It's sort of reminiscent of the Razor Crest a little bit, but also the exterior of the ship, which is one of my favorite parts of this episode, looks kind of like a version of the Ghost to a degree.
I had the exact same thought when I first saw it. Yep.
It's very slick. But I almost feel like in his mind, while he certainly is aware that he's condescending, I also feel like there's this weird kind of old Western code. And let's face it, when you watch old Westerns, it's not like women are treated with respect. I mean, they're treated like objects and stuff like that. So it kind of plays off that motif of him being that Clint Eastwood type, which I think is kind of interesting. But then we switch over to meeting with Tonwi and Lamasu and what's the last one? Nalase, yeah. I almost said namaste, but that's something else. and so now we get some interesting observations about the plan. So Andrew, talk about the conversation between these three on Kamino.
So the first thing that I thought we saw that Bane was talking with the Prime Minister. It's like, okay, so this is starting to all make sense. I had my speculation that that's kind of what was going on, that that's who is hiring these bounty hunters. What I found interesting was that let me check my name sheet here. They're all so similar.
I did the same thing. I wrote them all down.
Was even there. Because she's such a pivotal character in Attack of the Clones, but is background in all of this in the Clone Wars and Bad Batch. And I did find it interesting that Prime Minister basically told the scientists, you're too emotionally attached. You've caused us enough trouble already, so I'm going to send somebody else. And it got me thinking that what we find out later in the episode is that Omega is she wasn't altered to speed up her aging, and so basically the scientist has kind of raised Omega since a baby, right? You think of the attachment between Jango and Boba. And this is kind of the same thing. The scientist has taken on the mother role of Omega, and that's probably what's caused her to be so attached. We saw some hints of that in previous episodes, that she was really caring for Omega and cared about her well-being and taking care of her. And so it was nice to kind of see that fully fleshed out here.
Nala Se definitely seems a little disturbed, even though she hides it well. Even through the end, the animation's so gorgeous here because we can see in her reactions that she doesn't want that. Because what Lamasu says is, once you get the genetic material, then terminate.
Yep.
Yeah. And I don't even think they use him. He uses Omega's name. So, removing the name removes the identity, removes any responsibility or the humanity of Omega. So it's pretty cold-blooded and pretty disturbing. But you just alluded to something that I wanted to talk about. Tech says she's more unique than we realized. Basically, she's pure first-generation DNA, which means other clones are modified. There's only one other that was not directly modified, and that one was codenamed Alpha, and who is also Boba Fett. Now, I don't remember hearing that it was codenamed Alpha before. I feel like that's new stuff. But Tom, what does this revelation do for you in your appreciation of Omega, or understanding of her, perhaps?
Oh, I mean, it definitely points out her uniqueness. I mean, we've known that there's something special about her. We've been making, kind of guesses or observations of her as a unique individual. But, and I think as you said, Andrew, we've been piecing things together as the show has gone on. And so what Tech does in that moment, and I felt like it was such a sort of nondescript moment to get all that information. It was kind of like, whoa, wait a minute, let me get my notebook out, because he's like giving
this is some heavy stuff here.
It's typical Tech. Like he says, well, I've analyzed Omega's genetic DNA, and it's like, when did you do this, and were you going to tell anybody about it? Like, did you just do that, and you're going to come and tell us? But it's so typical Tech that, like, well, didn't you know this? But but that she's pure first generation DNA, and so I think it really helps to understand why these bounty hunters are after her. I do suspect that, I wonder if the Empire knows that, or if they did, if that would increase their desire for her, if nothing else, just to destroy her and be done with the clones. I mean, I think if Tarkin knew that she was around and what the value is to her, I think he would terminate her as well. So the Bad Batch have quite a desirable. I don't even want to say it this way. Let me pull back on that a little bit, because I was about to say they have quite a desirable asset, and that's not how we want to see. But that's kind of the story, right?
That's what they do, yeah.
So they've humanized her. They've made her part of the team. We've given her a family. She's got a father, and she's got a brother-like adult. She's got an uncle. She's got all these people who are kind of raising her. Yet on everybody else's radar, she's completely an asset. She's a thing to possess. She's a thing to gather, to gain information from. She's a thing to terminate. So it's interesting. I'm finding the names that they choose for these two, Boba and Omega, or shall I say Alpha and Omega, to be quite fascinating. And I've been trying to wrap my brain around the purpose of these two. I mean, are they literally the first clone built and the last clone? Like, are they the first and the last of the genetic pool? Like,
it must be. And that would be. And I never thought about Alpha as Alpha and Omega as Omega. I was thinking Alpha as in like the alpha male, like the strong Boba. And I'm sure there's a double meaning there, but I didn't put that together. Yeah, Alpha and Omega. That, to me, that's what it seems like. Because when I heard this reveal, to me, this wasn't really. I thought, is this supposed to be news? Didn't we kind of know this already? At least, or did we just kind of get a sense of that? Andrew, you're shaking your head. Is that kind of how you felt too?
I couldn't tell you what episode it was, but I remember speculating that to my wife when we were watching, and be like, I wonder if she is a clone like like Boba was, where she's just not aging, and that's why she's still a kid.
I think no, you know what? I think it was the second episode where they met Cut. I think that's where they was sort of talked about.
Yeah,
or alluded, certainly alluded to.
I definitely had that sense. Though I'm curious so it would make sense that Boba would be a pure genetic clone.
Right.
I don't understand how. I mean, there had to have been some altering because Omega is female.
That's a good point.
So there had to have been some altering, which leads me down a rabbit hole of, I feel like because Lama Su is so determined to get her back, I wonder if there's something else that's special about her, and that he wants her back so bad because the Empire is threatening to pull out of the cloning contract, and she might be like the silver bullet to get them to sign on the dotted line.
That could be, which would be certainly a lot less altruistic than I'm hoping she is, but I guess we're going to find out. That's an excellent point. All right, so then we switch over, Tom, back to Omega. I think this is the second. Yeah. No, that's probably the third. It's where she starts to use, even though she's the captive, she uses psychology to trick Toto 360 and to, like, you know what, you're not really treated very well. And he says, my treatment is perfectly adequate most of the time. It doesn't even seem like he really truly believes what he's saying, but he's probably a little scared of Cad Bane, and rightfully so. But talk about her ability to kind of change the dynamic and trick Toto. I loved it. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, he at one point he says, excuse me, I am a technical droid. I'm perfectly capable of putting myself back together. And so the reverse psychology is have it your way. And that's actually, I think, the end of the second scene between the two of them. And then when it comes back to that, he's having some issues, and she says, I've done this kind of thing before. If you just let me out, I can. And he admits that this is not going as well as he had thought, the angle at which he's putting the leg. And so he lets her out. And I thought that she might try to disable him right away. But she does not. She attaches the leg, and there's a problem with it. And he says, well, you haven't done it. It kind of reminded me of C-3PO. Oh, you crazy Wookiee, you haven't done this right. You need to do that. And so then, he says, it's not calibrated. You need to go here and fix this, but no tricks from you. Well, it was when that happened, I knew, But the funny thing is, she calibrates it perfectly. In fact, later, after Cad Bane rescues her, he makes comment of, this is amazing how well this. But so she does fix it, but then she disables him, and I wasn't sure like what her thought process was as to, okay, she's out of the cell, now what? Well, of course, her comm device. That didn't even cross my mind. I don't know why it didn't cross my mind, but it didn't until she starts looking for it. And it just took me back to that episode when they give her one, and she's kind of playing with it, and Echo keeps saying, it's not a toy, treat it like a toy. And here she is with it as in a complete adult situation, and that's the first thing she needs to find.
It's like like when we're kids and we get a walkie-talkie.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And then I love the tension of that scene when, Cad Bane says, Toto, get up here. We're, Soupy, I can't see. And then he doesn't show yet. Cad Bane makes it to the landing docking bay, and he brings it down. And when she's searching for this, the tension starts to rise because Cad Bane's calling for Toto. They land. She feels it land. You're like, oh my goodness. And then he gets up, and they do that great scene where the cockpit door opens and he walks like right at us to go down the ladder, and she is still looking. Oh my goodness. He's so scary.
You'll notice in that part that they don't show him full frame. It's always like a piece of him, right? You'll see like his chest and his lower jaw, right? Or you'll see his legs coming down. You never see the entire threat, which I thought was kind of Jaws like, where you just don't see the entire threat. Your imagination can fill in the blanks.
That is fantastic.
The unknown. Yep. The unknown is the fun part, because the imagination, even though we know what he looks like, the fact that they're doing it like that means there's more of him to come, and that can be frightening. Every episode, as I've been saying since the first one, there's always a great moment of legitimate suspense and terror, and this was one. There's a few throughout this episode,
Yeah.
actually. So let's go ahead and take a quick break. When we return, we will talk about the return of Fennec Shand and quite a bounty hunter showdown. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
This is Vanessa Marshall, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
With travel beginning to open up and Walt Disney World and Disneyland reaching full capacity, this is the time to book your Disney World vacation with MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. Their signature service and expert advice will help clients maximize their vacation, time, and dollar. I use Becky Menken and MEI's incredible services all the time, both for family and for travel for the show, because of their no cost, no obligation quote when you use the service. Plus, they proactively adjust a booking if the rate goes down. Literally, I will wake up one morning and I will get an email from MEI saying that the price went down, and I will get a refund sent to my credit card right away. I don't have to do anything. They help your family enjoy everything Galaxy's Edge and the Disney theme parks and the cruise lines have to offer. Can help you plan every detail and always share invaluable tips. That's for Walt Disney World, Disneyland, the Disney Cruise Lines, or other cruise lines. It doesn't have to be Disney related. They literally can help you plan a vacation anywhere on the planet. Be sure to go to www.coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel and sign up for a free no obligation quote to any of the Disney theme parks on the planet or any vacation that you have in mind. You'll have the best vacation possible and help out me and Coffee with Kenobi in the process. Okay, we are back ready to talk more of Bounty Lost, the 9th episode in season 1 of The Bad Batch. We're laughing because I'm here with some pretty cool dudes, Andrew and Tom, of course. And what I want to talk about right off the bat is Omega has escaped, Cad Bane is in pursuit, but there's this wonderful scene of Omega talking with the Bad Batch. She is able to get the communicator to work. She's running down this cloudy hallway, and I found the whole thing extraordinarily symbolic. Andrew, talk about that.
So there was a lot of stuff going through my head during that part. First was I was trying to figure out where she was, because at this point we don't know where she lands, where they're at.
Right.
It's just this big complex in looks like the clouds. So my first thought, well, is this Cloud City? That really they're going to go there? Then once she gets into that hallway and you see everything is just destroyed. Right, windows are busted out. The clouds from outside are now inside. Really reminded me of some of the scenes in Jurassic Park 3, if you can believe it, where they're in some of the science facilities that are all broken down, right? Yeah. And there's the raptors hunting them, but it's all foggy in there. And it really took me to that, which helped build to that suspense, because you couldn't see, she couldn't see, and the whole time that Bane is out there hunting her.
I love that. That's an excellent interpretation. And I also like the clouds obviously are fogging up her vision. You can't hear because there's a bad connection, and the fog is sort of the physical representation of not having all your faculties to be able to communicate and do what you want to do. But I also like, and I'm glad you pointed out the windows. I love that the windows are shattered, because if you look out the window, it's somewhat sunny and cloudy, and it could be a little bit picturesque, but the windows are like the safety net, right? That you look out into the outside, you can still enjoy it like a picture, but the windows protect you from the outside. They're all shattered. She has no protection, and her perfect little ideal on the Marauder is gone because she's not with her companions. She's not with her good friends, her family. And so she's running down this seemingly endless hallway with nothing but clouds. And I found that really psychologically fascinating.
Did we not know? I was trying to think when do we know that, because Cad Bane says, I'll meet you at the rendezvous point or the meeting spot. And doesn't Lama Su tell Tonway that they'll be going to the outpost? I don't know. For some reason, I knew it was going to. I felt like I knew that it was a Kaminoan building or structure or outpost or something. And so when I saw all the clouds, I was thinking, okay, in one place, it's all water, and here it's just a different type of water with the clouds and the steam
vapor
and everything. Yeah, and so I don't know. I looked at it kind of that way as. And
part of me thought, is this a side part of Coruscant, or not of Coruscant, but of Kamino? Because, like you said, are they higher up on the planet? Because it's
like
still got that,
like above the storm,
above the storm itself.
No.
But it's not. The only evidence we have is that she says the doors look like the ones on Topoka City. That's all we hear is about as far as a geographic location. But then, guys, Ton Wee, who was supposed to show up, who's been kind of a tricky person to kind of empathize with, suddenly we don't get that chance because we see her dead body. And things take a bit of a darker turn. But then in walks Fennec Shand. And Tom, I don't know about you, but Fennec Shand, who you heard Ming-Na Wen earlier on the show on Coffee with Kenobi today, but she, what do you think about her after you saw that, especially?
Oh, I thought you mean the assassination, basically.
Yes, I'm like, presumably an innocent, at least unarmed.
Right. Well, first of all, I want to ask: is Ton Wei the one that gives Obi-Wan Kenobi the tour of Kamino? Okay, that's what I thought.
It is.
All right. So, anyway, here's a character we know from not just this, but from the past.
2002.
Assassinated by Fennec Shand. And I was like, okay. When she reveals who she is, and there's tension there because Cad Bane is just recaptured. Omega has her handcuffed. She's fighting him to get back, and then you hear the blaster fire one way, and then it's Cad Bane. He completely changes his demeanor and says, "Be quiet and get back," and and he's kind of sneaking around. And then when you see the two of them, and you learn some things here. When Cad Bane sees that it's Fennec Shand, first of all, you see that she is known, but also she is new to the game. He says, you're way in over your head. And I wrote down on my notes right away, youth versus experience. Here you've got the grizzled bounty hunter who's chased Jedi, who's captured Jedi, and done all the terrible and wonderful / terrible things that we saw during the Clone Wars. And he's, and he calls her out and says, you're in over your head on this one.
Yeah, he says, you lack experience to be going against me. But when he said it, and I apologize if you were still on your train of thought, so go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead and say what you're going to say, because I think I know where you're headed.
I was just going to say, there's a part of me that felt like he legitimately considered her a threat, which I don't know that I could ever feel that way about. And maybe I'm saying that because I've seen the whole episode twice now and already know about the fight. But I don't know. I kind of caught that.
I agree with you because she had a pistol drawn, pointed at him, and they do that shot from behind where his hand is starting to go to his pistol, but she's already got it drawn. Yeah. And so definitely he feels threatened here. And then so the one thing I wanted to say about this fight, because they actually fight again, I think 3 times. Or at least it's broken into 3 different fights or 3 different scenes. My favorite part of this fight is when he throws the explosive, he throws the detonator, and she kicks it. She does like a sweeping kick
right here.
Yep,
right here too.
Throws it out where Toto. And I was like, oh yes, this is going to blow up Toto. It didn't happen, but the credits blow out and you lose
Toto,
everything.
Man.
I thought that because he just did what he explained earlier. He just ripped off the credits from her right from behind. And you're like, oh my gosh, that stinking droid. And so when she kicks it, I thought for sure that was Toto's end. But no luck. He just loses all the credits after they kind of struck a deal. You take the credits, I'll take the kid. And I was shocked to hear Cad Bane say, doesn't sound like such a bad deal. You first. And then
I didn't believe that for a second though.
Oh, I did.
I did too.
Yeah,
I did too.
Because so his contact that he was supposed to give the kid to is now dead.
Mm-hmm.
So he has no other way of getting the payout for this job. And either way, he's giving up the kid. So,
but he's Cad Bane. I just can't imagine he's going to go. I mean, talk about a code, a principle, right? So let's play the game. What alignment is in the D&D world is Cad Bane? Is he?
He's chaotic neutral.
I was going to say he's got to be chaotic neutral.
Chaotic evil. Yeah, I was going to say chaotic evil because I don't. Has he ever done anything?
Well, he has a code though. Chaotic evil does never.
Yeah,
really
he has.
Does he?
Well, and he'll play both sides.
Code.
He'd take a. Didn't he work with? He's worked with both sides before.
He's worked with.
He works for the bounty.
Yeah, and he want, if he doesn't have the reputation he has, if he doesn't stick to what he says he's going to do.
Yeah, and I think he would break. See, I think he would break the code. He wouldn't be like he wouldn't work. Let's go to Mandalorian. He wouldn't play under those rules. He plays under his own rules, which makes otherwise he'd be lawful neutral.
Well, weigh in, please, everybody, on social media. What alignment is Cad Bane?
I think he's definitely neutral. Is he chaotic or is he lawful? Yeah, I totally
somewhere in
between. He was willing to get rid of Omega. She meant nothing to him. It was all about the bounty.
I don't know. I love that we all disagree, but I don't think that he would have. I mean, he said it so easily and quickly. And here, maybe this might help my point. Early in the episode, when she tries to persuade him, he just shuts it down right away. Like he doesn't even entertain it. But here he playfully entertains it. I think this is part of the dance. I think this is part of him trying to suck her because he does underestimate her repeatedly. And then Andrew, let's talk about the fight. I mean, let's talk about all the way before the final showdown. But when you're watching this fight sequence, what sticks out to you? Besides, I mean, not necessarily individual moves, although you can certainly bring those up. The one that Tom brought up of Fennec kicking that thermal detonator is top 10 awesomest fight scenes sequences, I think. But what stands out to you?
Atmosphere. The atmosphere is so good between, like we talked about before, with the clouds coming in on the inside. Really makes it does a couple things. It makes it very clear that neither one of them can see each other very well because we can't see them very well. But it also does this really great thing with lighting whenever they shoot their blasters, because that the light from the laser dissipates in that, and it just looks really cool. And then the music during that scene is also top notch. Kiner and his sons are on their A game a lot this season, I feel. And I felt like it was definitely turned into a chase scene pretty quick because Omega runs off and then Fennec Shand runs off after Omega, and then Cad Bane runs off, and what ends it is that he turns the corner and there's that thermal detonator,
another
stuck on the
detonator,
wall, and it explodes, and he hits that wall hard. I wasn't sure if he was getting up from that.
I agree. There are a number of scenes in this whole fight sequence where either Fennec Shand or Cad Bane gets slammed into the side of the wall, and they're just out cold for longer than you would think. And I agree, Andrew. I thought they were both out cold. But to me, the fight choreography, and we talked at the beginning of the episode to the creators of this episode, but the fight choreography is really, really outstanding. I mean, that's not a surprise. Star Wars is known for a lot of things, including wonderful fight choreography. But their animation, I mean, Lucasfilm Animation continues to raise the bar with how they're doing this kind of stuff.
Absolutely. I think this whole sequence is phenomenal. As far as the fight goes, and it's I guess because it starts with the pistol fight, and then you have some cheap, you have the cheap blows like headbutts that takes them down, and then the thermal detonator, which I thought, again, when you look at youth versus experience, Cad Bane throws the detonator at her, she hides it and sets it off when he's there. That's a difference in who they are. But oh shoot, I kind of lost my train of thought where I was headed with that. Oh, so you go from the pistol fight to cheap shots, and it ends as a bounty hunter, in my eyes, how a bounty hunter fights with just fisticuffs. I mean, they're just punching each other, and that's how Omega gets away into that room that I'm sure we're going to talk about. Yeah. But I have to say, one of the creepiest moments with Cad Bane in this whole episode. Oh, okay, sorry, two things. One, sorry, man, you got me going now. One, is with Cad Bane and Fennec, you've got we don't know. We don't know the future of these two.
Mm-mm.
So when Cad Bane was knocked cold and Toto couldn't even get him up, I was like, could this be it? And then later when he's pushed off the edge and he's falling, I was like, no, this isn't it. I forgot he had boosters in his, the blaster or the rocket boosters in his boots. And so we don't know. We could be seeing. Oh, I guess we do know Fennec Shand.
Yeah.
She does have a future.
For
but
28
Cad Bane,
years,
we don't.
No, and
Cad
we didn't even
Bane,
know
we
he's going to
don't.
show up. Yeah, I know, and
So-
I thought he's going to be gone. Fennec Shand's going to kill Cad Bane. There
Yeah.
were a good 3 times, I think, where I thought, holy cow, she just
Yeah.
took care of him. Is she more
So the
powerful
thing
than
I-
Hunter?
No.
Hunter,
Okay,
Cad Bane
so-
took care of Hunter pretty easy.
Well, that's true. Okay. All right. Yeah, we may have to come back to that. But the moment where he walks out of the fog, at like the second or third time, he has had it. And he says the
Yeah.
line before we see him, by hook or by crook. Sorry, I can't do it. But, but it's that creepy voice that they
Yes.
did that. Oh, it's so beautiful. By hook or by crook, you're coming with me. And you're like, oh, okay, he's had it. Like he is done messing around. And you're just like, you fear for Omega there. But like I said, she gets away. They're fist fighting, and she walks into that room.
Yeah, Corey Burton is great. In fact,
Corey
they
Burton.
said that,
That's it.
that
Thank you.
his acting affects the blocking and it affects the animation because he's just so good. See, I feel like he is frustrated. He has had it, but I also feel like there's a part of him that realizes that he's not necessarily in over his head, but he's up for an equal fight. Maybe she might have been better than him. I think you could actually make a case that she is. I mean, she outwits him throughout the entire episode. And I think he's frustrated. But one of the reasons I think he's frustrated is not just because he's had it, but because he's realizing he's giving it his all, but he's not stopping her. And he doesn't stop her. And that is certainly new for us as an audience. And it's certainly new for him as far as what we have seen so far. But then we go, Andrew, into, I don't really know how to describe it. This show continues to echo Alien to me, the original Alien. We go into this room. It's much darker than the rest, the lighting and just sort of the atmosphere of it. But I wrote down Kaminoan green aquarium. I mean, it was very haunting. There's a moment where Omega, she boosts the signal to get Clone Force 99 to find her. And when Fennec Shand shows up, she tries to use charm to say, you know what? I'm going to help you. We're going to get through this together. But Andrew, is there a part of you that even trusts her a little bit? And we also got to talk about the creepy room too.
Yeah. So I'm going to start with the room because that I have lots of questions. As soon as I saw, and I'd already kind of wondered this, but like what happened at this facility? Why are all the windows busted out? Why is everything just abandoned? What happened here? Give me the comic book. Give me the novelization. Give me anything to tell me that, because I'm really fascinated with this place now. It seems almost like it's just a test facility. And Omega's looking at those vats, and she sees aliens in there. I tried to pick out what aliens. I think one might have been a Celestin, maybe. I have no idea what the other one is that we see fall out later.
It looked like a Kaminoan to me.
It looked like one, but the neck was thicker and shorter. My anatomy on Kaminoans isn't up to snuff, but
you were sick that day.
Yeah. That room I found to be really interesting. Especially there's a moment where, and I didn't really catch this until the second time I watched it. There's a little bit later when Fennec Shand is talking to Omega, she says, why everybody's after you. You know the reason, right? And I didn't catch it the first time. The second time I watched it, I caught before Fennec Shand even enters the room, Omega is looking in those vats, and she looks at her reflection in those vats. She sees herself in the vat. She knows what she is, and she can tell that all of this that's going on, that is a potential future for her, is being a test subject in these vats. And I found that to be just creepy and haunting and in a weird way kind of beautiful in the symbology of that moment.
Interesting. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Tom, anything you want to say about that?
No, you went places I wasn't. You thought a lot deeper on that. That's I really do like all of that.
Is this the first time you met us? Come on.
No, well, so I have more to say about that room with Fennec Shand, and I don't know, Andrew, if you had anything else to add you wanted to say about Fennec's conversation with her.
Yeah, well, you asked if I trusted her at all, and I don't, because of the very first thing that she tells Omega in that room. She says, "You can't rely on anybody but yourself," and then a few sentences later, she says, "I'm trying to help you," but 2 seconds before you were saying you can't trust anybody but yourself. So to me, she's kind of having some circular logic going on there.
Yeah, and that's what I want to talk about was actually those lines. The first one in particular. I feel like everybody's trying to teach Omega a lesson. Oh, everybody has something to say to Omega about life. And I felt like that's what this was. Fennec Shand walks in. This is not the first time. This is not the first go around. And she mentions that even to Cad Bane. Look, we have history. We have history here. She's been with me before. We've talked before. And even when they first met, however many episodes ago that was, even then she was showing her the ropes of like, here's how you get fruit on the streets, girl. Here's how you do, this kind of stuff, petty thievery and things like that, that it's not bad if you're, doing it for the right reasons, basically. And so here the lessons continue from Fennec Shand. And that is that you're the only one you can count on is you. Now, I agree with you. I'm here to help you, but I don't know that she's saying you can count on me. It's just, hey, I'm here to help. So I don't know. I have more trust for Fennec Shand than I do Cad Bane, or that I do Lama Su. Yeah. Maybe even Nala Se. I still don't know what Nala Se wants with her, other than I feel like she's got that I felt like she had sort of a parental sort of relationship with her on Kamino before she went with the Bad Batch. So I was like, but even then it was more of like an authoritarian parental sort of thing. So it was like, no, you get back here and you do what I say, kind of thing. So I don't even know who to trust here, but I don't think Fennec Shand's the one that I've got bad feelings about. I think she's more neutral and maybe lawful than Cad Bane is.
Interesting. I think that we know all we need to know about Fennec Shand when she asks, "Why did you kill Ton Wee?" She says, "What's part of the job?"
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
So she was hired to do the job, so she did it without any emotion. There's a very popular thing out there where people say the Sith never lie, but there are sins of omission and commission, so they lie all the time. Right? They may tell the truth, but they just tell shades of the truth for their own evil purposes. She's telling what she wants to tell because it's truthful. She's trying to win her trust, and I think that she's charming the two of you as well. I don't think she can be trusted. I think we see at the end of the episode, you want me to chase her down? And they say, no, okay. Well, if you change your mind, you know how to reach me. Jumps to light speed. I think that she doesn't kill her because she's hired by Nala Se to protect her, because I think Nala Se does have a kinship with her. I think if Nala Se has her druthers, she would take Omega and they would escape and they would flee together. I think the only reason Fennec Shand doesn't kill Omega is because that's part of her contract. I think she is equally untrustworthy. She just has a very different way. She has a different sort of bravado, although her bravado is still very, very high. But it's not the Old West. It's more like, I'm tough and I'm not taking any crap, and go ahead and underestimate me because I don't have anything to prove to you. I'm just really, really good at my job. I think it's just the psychology of why she's so successful.
Tom, do you think that you were talking about her lessons that she's given to Omega on these 2 encounters that they've had together? Do you think that Omega is starting to listen to those? Do you think that she's starting to believe Fennec Shand when she says you can't trust anybody but yourself? You need to look out for number one.
I think Omega listens to all the lessons, to be honest with you.
Which is why she's so wise.
Yeah, I think she takes in so much. And so, yeah, absolutely. I think, I don't know that, and I think what you said, Dan, is absolutely right. And I just don't know how to process it, because I think if the Bad Batch hired Fennec Shand to go get Omega and bring her back, she'd do it. And she'd give the same advice. And she would do it not because it's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. She'd do it because that's what she was hired to do. That's her job.
That's her tool.
Whereas I don't think Cad Bane doesn't follow that code. I think if he has a way to twist it and get back at somebody in the process, he would. Where Fennec Shand she goes about her business. So I don't know. It's an interesting look at bounty hunting, I suppose, in the Star Wars galaxy, because you have bounty hunting and then you have all of the shades of gray around what that means, because especially with the Mandalorian and the coming forward with the Book of Boba Fett, and that we're going to explore that even deeper. But this show, The Bad Batch, which we're here to talk about, it really is doing a deep dive into this idea of bounty hunting, because the bounty is what we're following as viewers.
It is a complicated profession.
Yeah.
Yes, true. No, I think it's fun. I think that Cad Bane is not a finesse guy. It's just like, I'm tough, I'm better than you, and I'm not scared of anything. And Fennec Shand is finesse and brutality. It's quite a combination. I think she's a very exciting character. Speaking of exciting, Omega gets another moment in the sun, literally and figuratively, where she finds some flight pods, a very interesting contraption that we've never really seen quite like this in the canonical Star Wars. But then she and Toto have this great little encounter, which I thought was really kind of fun. Andrew, go ahead and talk about that and her escape.
Oh, poor Toto. Poor Toto.
Oh,
when he flies off that. Yeah,
I don't feel any pity for him.
Well, okay, so let me pause on that for just a second.
Because of her. Yeah.
So I feel sorry for Toto. He doesn't realize that he's in an abusive relationship. He doesn't realize it.
That's true.
Right?
That is true.
That's the purpose of that whole conversation that Omega has with him early on. She's telling him the truth that, your friend doesn't really take care of you. Your friend isn't helping you at all. Why are you with him? And he says something like, my treatment is adequate. Right.
Yeah.
Like,
yep.
Like, I feel sorry for Toto. He's got some crossed wires that just aren't quite right. And I think it's if you watch Omega when she's still in that jail cell and he's flying up, he's got his one leg because his other one's blasted off and he's struggling to get up there to flip the switch. She gives this look of sympathy, right? Omega feels sorry for Toto too. And since I feel that Omega is really our window into this show, that that's, we're kind of meant to feel sorry for him. It just means that unfortunately, Tom, you have a really cold stone heart.
That's why you wanted to be on a show with me.
Yeah.
I'm trying to improve you just a little bit. So
Man.
but that
I feel like as the host I need to step up here. Come on. Let's be nice to our Tommy.
I love you, Tom.
I know.
That
we kid because we love
that scene where she decides, she's on that ladder, and he comes up and saying, "You're coming with me," and she decides to jump off of the ladder onto Toto.
That's great.
Love it.
That was a brave move.
That was a short round move.
Yeah, those are some tiny little thrusters on his feet. I don't know if I would have trusted that to hold us both up. And he really doesn't, because they take a tumble and then he's stuck upside down like a turtle on his back.
More people are knocked out in this than a typical WWE match. I mean, they're always down for the count, and you think, and they get back up triumphantly.
I did really like, though, when she gets into that flight pod and he's like, he gets right up on the window and says, "Where do you think you're going?"
Like,
and she starts
her.
Yeah, she like starts that engine and it starts going. And he just goes, "Uh-oh," and it flies off.
I thought he was done for there, and I thought
was
Fennec
great.
Shand shot him twice earlier in the episode. I thought he was done for too, but
Yeah.
apparently that blast steel or whatever is on casing is really very powerful.
We've talked about the animation in this several times over the weeks, and there's one moment here that, I mean, the whole episode is just magnificent. But in that sequence you're just describing, Andrew, there was a moment where I was like, "Oh my gosh, the animation!" It was split second, and it's when she makes that realization that I can just jump on him. There's a shift for like a frame of film where you see her think that idea up, and then she jumps. And I was like, man, that is some sharp animation that I could see, or we can all see, that she formulates that idea. She doesn't just randomly jump. She formulates the idea before jumping. And it was a wonderful moment.
The only other thing we didn't talk about before we talk about the last sequence is, and again, another incredible fight sequence, getting slammed against walls, explosions, punching, blasting. And then I thought Fennec Shand was out cold, but she gets up. She ends up pushing Cad Bane over the balcony, and I thought he's going to fall to his death. And I forgot that he had those little Tony Stark jet boosters on his boots, so to speak. And he flies up, and he is so frustrated. He gets back to his starship, only to find out that Fennec Shand has tampered with it, and he can't escape. Now, she could have blown it up, but she tampers with it. He can't get away. He's super frustrated. He's out of his credits. It certainly is a ding to his reputation or his bounty hunter ERA. But I don't know. It's pretty interesting stuff. But let's go to the end, because I think the ending is more important than most of what we've been talking about. And that's the reunion with the Bad Batch. I want to talk about the reactions, how they all greet her. And I also want to talk about the heart-to-heart that Hunter and Omega have at the end. Tom, we'll start with you on this one.
So did I miss a memo somewhere in the Bad Batch media files where their goal was to have a throwback to a film in every single episode?
That's such a Filoni thing, though. He does,
because that. we have very clearly identified throwbacks to films in each one of these episodes, and this is one of them, where the pod is the flight pod is captured by something, and there's that moment where you're like, oh, who's this going to be? She looks up through the tunnel, up to the door flies open. I was like, Jyn Erso, Jyn.
Oh, good me. Point.
I didn't even think of that.
I didn't either.
It's total Jyn and Saw at the opening of Rogue One.
Not come with me if you want to live. Not that.
Right. Yeah, not that. And it's Wrecker, Omega. And oh my gosh, the joy. And I looked at Kaylee and I said that was Saw Gerrera and Jyn, and she goes, oh, her face was like, and then we went back and reviewed all of the ones from all the throwbacks to all the other ones, and it was like light bulb moment after light bulb moment. She's like, I never saw that. Anyway, the reunion was so well done. It was beautiful because Wrecker is the joy. She was so excited to see him. It's her big brother, and they're happy. And then like there's a shift. It goes into reverse or forward or something, but there's a shift. The clutch is down, and the gear goes into another level when she sees Hunter, and she sees him, and there's like instant, like the realization of you thought you lost somebody, and then the relief. And it was such a father-daughter moment. And his questioning is so fatherly. Are you okay? Are you hurt? Nothing selfish in that from Hunter. Like, oh, I missed you so much. It doesn't matter to Hunter. Hunter is not important here. It's the child. And then then she asked the question, why are they after me? And then it becomes Echo, who I've labeled as the uncle.
Yeah.
The Echo becomes the voice of reason and reality. You have to tell her, Hunter, you have to tell her. And so then as the father, he says, you're more valuable than any clone. And probably, I don't know, is it one of the hardest things as a parent to tell your kids that they're different than all the other kids? But he says, you're more valuable than any clone. You're different. And I get goosebumps just right now talking about that. And just like the family dynamic, because here, as we talked earlier in this episode, we've spent the entire episode as her as an asset, as a thing to be gathered, to gained, and terminated.
As a MacGuffin.
And here she walks in. It's like walking into the living room, and it's her family. And there's a whole different dynamic. There's caring, there's love, there's joy that we haven't seen through this entire episode. And it's just such a moving moment. Then it's not done, but we go through some other scenes. So I'll let you jump onto that.
No, I if anything, it almost felt too easy. It wasn't easy, but I don't know. I feel like there's going to be some more hardships to come. Because like I said at the beginning of this, the fact that she was released from basically being incarcerated or captured or however you want to describe it, I don't know. I think there's more to it. But what I wanted to talk about is that I like that Wrecker gives her a huge hug. Echo, he barely even looks at her because he's like thinking of something. Echo is Echo, and he's very empathetic. But he also he keeps his distance. He's been through a lot of trauma, certainly. But then Hunter is the father figure. She leans against him, and he gets down eye level, and he talks to her. He puts his arm on his shoulder, but he never hugs her. He doesn't grab her and comfort her. And that bothered me. I mean, I'm just a hugger guy anyway. But I found that to be interesting. But he's also very, very guarded in his emotions too. But thinking you lost Omega would be enough to make you want to hug. But that happens in the Harry Potter books too. They almost never hug. And that always bugged me in that too. I don't know. Maybe I'm making too much of that. But Wrecker didn't have a problem with that. Andrew, what do you want to say about their reunion?
I mean, you guys pretty much hit it on the head. The thing that I noticed was those questions that Hunter asked. He's finally, and I alluded to this earlier, he's finally really stepping into that father role here. And those questions are ones that, that's the kind of attitude that he learned from Cut way back in that second episode, right? That's what he did after that Nexu attack, is he got down at eye level and he asked, are you okay? And that's exactly what Hunter's doing here. He's learning just like Omega's learning and everything.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. So then at the end, she's really scared, and she and Hunter have a really nice moment together. He's comforting us as an audience as much as he is her, but she's really worried. She doesn't want to end up, when she says, I don't want to end up like those things. Like, I don't want to end up like in a test tube.
Yeah.
And I didn't put that together. And then I'm like, oh, of course, when she's looking in that reflection, she's thinking, oh my gosh, what am I? The great thing that links so many stories is, who am I? What am I? What is my purpose? Omega doesn't seem to be struggling with her purpose, but her identity and where she fits, that's why she needs the Clone Force 99 so much, because she needs that sense of belonging. We all need a sense of belonging. But he says to her, you don't have to worry. You are never going back to Kamino. That's how it ends. She says, you can't fight off all the bounty hunters. And he's like, he's just not interested in entertaining the idea that she's not going to be okay. Now, does he believe that? I mean, do we believe when you're a parent, there's sometimes you tell your kids things and you're not always sure of the answers, but you love them. You want to be honest, but you also want to comfort them. I think he walks a really nice balance of juggling all those tricky parent things. And we're all parents here. So Tom, what do you make of his advice to her?
Yeah, where you said, I don't think it's over. And I went right to this very ending where he says, I promise. Well, we know as parents, that's the one thing that we never make. We do it all the time, but you never. And when he says, "I promise," I'm like, "Oh, they're definitely going back to Kamino before this is all over." And I can almost see I can almost see the setup to it going forward. And I'm not trying to speculate or say that's going to happen. That's what I see. That's what I hear when I hear a parent say to their child, "I promise." That's going to be a broken promise, and that's a hard lesson for both the parent and the child. And so, but it's what we want to do. He says, "You can't sleep." And yet you said these lines, Dan, she's like, "I can't stop thinking about that place." And I love how he gets up. It's the second time in the episode. Andrew, you said, he gets down on his knees, and he, in that one, in the reunion, but here he does it again. He walks over, turns the seat to her, and looks at her face to face. And you're absolutely right. It's a beautiful parenting moment. And he makes the big mistake that we all make in making that promise, which only sets up more conflict in the future.
Yeah. Andrew, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'm just gonna right here on my notes. It says, "Don't make promises you can't keep."
Uh-huh.
So I'm with you, Tom. I think that that's a dangerous promise to make. There's a lot of forces acting against them right now, and they're all trying to get them back to Kamino.
And one of the reasons it's so hard to promise is you can't predict what everybody else is going to do, and the unpredictability of the galaxy. The galaxy's a mess right now. And the Bad Batch doesn't even, there's not even a guarantee that when they go back to see Sid that it'll be safe.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are, with Dan Z, the podcast you're looking for. This is...
As we near the end of the show today, I want to thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your busy schedule to have a cup of coffee with me and for helping to spread the word about our Star Wars family we've got here at Coffee with Kenobi. Be sure to tune in Monday nights at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live at www.coffeewithkenobi.com/live or www.facebook.com/coffeewithkenobi and have a cup of coffee, tea, or any beverage of your choosing with me as we continue the conversation. To join us in the CWK Cafe, which is our Facebook group, and share your Star Wars thoughts, comments, reviews, and opinions in a family-friendly, spoiler-free place that is also drama-free, go to www.coffeewithkenobi.com/community and be part of the conversation, talk about this week's show, or just talk about some Star Wars. We have a lot of fun, and you'll make some new friends, as well as catch up with longtime friends along the way. I also want to thank all of the new and longtime members of the CWK Alliance and let you know how much I appreciate your help and encouragement. If you want to join the CWK Alliance, go to www.cwkalliance.com and sign up today. Not only will you help out Coffee with Kenobi, but you also get access to CWK Pour-Over, the exclusive weekly podcast not heard anywhere else. It's a great way to support and help out the show, and 10% of your monthly contributions go directly to the St. Jude Children's Hospital to support the incredibly important work they are doing to help these brave children and their families. Plus, contributors at the CWK All-Star level can watch a video podcast of CWK Pour-Over hosted by me, Tom Gross, and Corey Clubb. Feel free to reach out anytime if you have any questions. In addition to being part of the community on Facebook, please don't forget to visit our website at www.coffeewithkenobi.com for Star Wars news, announcements, reviews, videos, and so much more. If you have a question for me or just want to share your thoughts on the air, feel free to email me at danz@coffeewithkenobi.com and I'll share them on the show. You can also connect with me on Twitter at Mr. Zaire, MRZEHR, or on Instagram at DanZareCWK. There are also a lot more ways to connect with me and Coffee with Kenobi on social media. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Give us a like on Facebook at facebook.com/coffeewithkenobi. Check us out on Pinterest or subscribe to our Coffee with Kenobi YouTube channel. On our YouTube channel, you can find Facebook Live video, different interviews throughout the years, highlights of video coverage throughout the Coffee with Kenobi history, and the audio podcast itself. You can order my book, The Star Wars Book, which I co-wrote with Lucasfilm's Pablo Hidalgo and Cole Horton, on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Books A Million, Walmart, or anywhere books are sold. You can also find my writing on Coffee with Kenobi's website, as well as StarWars.com, where I am an official blogger there, and on IGN, where I contribute occasionally to articles about Star Wars as well as other popular culture topics. If you are considering starting a podcast or a blog, let me know how I can help you get started and make your creative vision a reality. Be sure to check out danzmedia.com and we can get the process started. I am also available to come to your school, conference, business, or organization to talk about how to tap into your strengths and help you bring out your very best. I want to inspire you to be inspired so you can take that first step into a larger world. Thanks as always to our Coffee with Kenobi sponsors, especially MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, our travel partner and your one-stop shop for all things Walt Disney World, Disneyland, the Disney Cruise Lines, or anywhere on the planet you want to go on your vacation. Please go to www.coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel to book your magical vacation and help support Coffee with Kenobi in the process. If you like the show, please tweet out that you're listening, share it on Facebook, or invite your friends and family to tune in and share a cup of coffee with us. And if the Force is especially with you, please take a couple of minutes to rate and review the show on iTunes or Google Podcasts. Every review makes a huge difference and helps to spread the word, and I can't thank you enough for your help, for your support, and your friendship. I love so much being a part of this wonderful Star Wars community, and I can't thank you enough for all that you do for me and Coffee with Kenobi. So there's a lot of challenges, but I can promise one thing. I can promise that when Andrew and Tom are on Coffee with Kenobi, it's going to be a fascinating conversation. Gentlemen, thank you so much. We laugh, we learn. That's one of the fun things about this wonderful community of Coffee with Kenobi. So I thank you both so much. Of course, Tom, let's start with you. Please let everybody know where they can find you and tell us again about your writing.
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at Draftline. Catch up with me there. Let me know your thoughts. Chaotic neutral, chaotic, lawful neutral. What is Cad Bane? Drop that there. Drop that on the Coffee with Kenobi page as well, and Andrew. But yeah, check out my writing on my blog, Seeking Positivity in the Galaxy.
And Andrew, again, such a pleasure. If members of the CWK Cafe, Andrew last week taught us, what's the name of that game?
Imperial Assault.
Imperial Assault.
Yeah.
Andrew taught us Imperial Assault. We also learned how to play Sabacc, the Galaxy's Edge version of Sabacc. So that was super fun. I'm really glad that happened because I don't get to hang out with you very much, Andrew. So I'm really glad that we got to. Even more glad that we got to have you on the show. Please let everybody know where they can continue the conversation with you.
Sure. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Sketty. That's SGHETTI79. So spaghetti without the puh. I also do some work with Star Wars Action News, collecting podcasts. So right now they've been on a hiatus as the co-hosts are moving across the country. So they're on hiatus right now, but going to be starting back up soon. So every now and then you can see me doing unboxing videos over there, as well as I do the video editing. So please check that out as well.
That's going to do it for today's show. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us on Coffee with Kenobi. A huge thank you to our guests, Jennifer Corbett, Brad Rau, Ming-Na Wen, Tom Gross, and Andrew Harrison, as we talked all about this incredible episode of Star Wars The Bad Batch. Be sure to let us know what you thought about the episode on our Coffee with Kenobi's Facebook group, the CWK Cafe, where you can share all of your comments, thoughts, and opinions. We post a spoiler-free option on Friday, and then on Sundays we post a spoiler-filled option where you can really get your thoughts out. As I mentioned at the top of the show, it's going to be quite a week at Coffee with Kenobi. We have on Monday, June 28th, CWK's Facebook Live at our usual time at 8 o'clock p.m. Central. And then on June 29th, I'll be in Walt Disney World at Disney's Hollywood Studios, walking around, taking you around Galaxy's Edge and Batuu. I can't wait for that. It's going to be so much fun. And then on June 30th, if you are in the Orlando area, the central Orlando area, we have a CWK meetup at Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar from 7 o'clock to 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. And I'm going to have a really cool announcement on June 29th when I do the Facebook Live show from Galaxy's Edge. I can't wait to share with each and every one of you. Thanks so much to everyone for your support. We also have a bonus show on Thursday talking all about Indiana Jones. Thank you so much, as always, for being such a wonderful part of this community. We can't do this without you. Have a great week, everybody. I will see you on social media. Be sure to join me for my Walt Disney World trip on Instagram, on Twitter, and of course on Facebook and Facebook Live. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
There's no one here.